Here we are in Saik'uz and Stony Creek at the gathering place. My name is Andreas Krebs from Resident Strategic. Today we're going to be hearing from Saik'uz First Nation and the District of Vanderhoof as they call for innovative local forestry solutions to sustain forests and protect jobs here in the region. Before we begin the news conference, I'm going to ask Marilyn Antoine to open us with a prayer. I think we're going to have to, I'm just going to move this just a little closer to you, and then we'll ask people to stand.
Heavenly Father, we come before you. We ask for your blessings for the day. We ask you to protect our families and to what we are about to speak about today. We ask you to bless everyone's hearts and minds so that the thinking is we're all together. We ask for all of this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Marilyn. Today we're going to be hearing from, I'm going to push this over here so you can see that there. Online you'll notice a bunch of changing of microphones, but we're going to hear first from Chief Priscilla Mueller of the Saik'uz First Nation. Chief, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I am Priscilla Mueller, and I am the chief here at Saik'uz First Nation, and I'm also part of the Tachik-Witen clan.
Kevin Moutre.
Kevin Moutre, Mayor of the District of Vanderhoof.
And we are supported by Saik'uz councillors. Robbie.
Morning, everybody. My name is Robbie Antoine. I am Officer of Councillor for Saik'uz, also part of the Tachik-Witen.
Good morning, I'm Melanie Labatch. I'm daughter of Judy Labatch and Ernie John. I'm maternal granddaughter of Helen Labatch and John Fossil, paternal granddaughter of Mary and Lazar John, member of the Grouse clan, and I'm elected council member for Saik'uz.
I'll just move this one more time, I think. Marilyn, you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, my name is Marilyn Antoine. I'm the elder on council for Saik'uz First Nation.
Regina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Regina Carlson. I'm elected council for Saik'uz First Nation, and I belong with the Nilkai-Witen.
Start over here with District of Vanderhoof councillor.
Good morning. I'm Ken Young, councillor for District of Vanderhoof.
Morning. My name is Cindy Loze, and I'm a councillor with the District of Vanderhoof.
Brian Frankel, councillor with the District of Vanderhoof.
Tom Bowler, councillor, District of Vanderhoof.
Thanks everybody for the introduction. So we're going to move right into some remarks from Chief Mueller. Just before we hear from Chief Mueller, there's a lot of interest right now in the fact that the three Nechako First Nations, that's Saik'uz, Tsalat, and Nodle, have joined together to purchase the Camphor Plateau sawmill. Great news. We are not here about that piece of news today. There will be some more news coming out Friday, July 10th, focused on that Camphor purchase. Today, we're focusing specifically on the relationship between the District of Vanderhoof and how they're working together to improve forestry and the health of the forests here in the region. Chief Mueller, do you want to start with your remarks?
Thank you, Rez. I'm Priscilla here. I just wanted to, first of all, send our condolences to Council Member Rodney Teed. He lost his brother, J.R. Teed, last night. So I just wanted to send our love and prayers to the family. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered here in the Saik'uz territory where our Daqa people have stewarded these lands since time immemorial. Our responsibility to these forests has never changed, but the forests themselves have. Across the region, we have witnessed the cumulative impacts of mountain pine beetle, wildfires, decades of harvesting, and a changing climate. The forests are not what they were 20 years ago. And that reality must be reflected in the decisions being made today. This is not about opposing forestry overall. Forestry has been a part of our nation's economy, just as it has been for our other communities throughout the Vanderhoof area. Many Indigenous and non-Indigenous families rely on forestry for their livelihoods, and we want those opportunities to continue for generations to come. Our concern is whether current provincial decisions reflect what is actually on the ground today. Saik'uz has invested years of work into developing a land use plan based on traditional knowledge, scientific analysis, and extensive technical expertise. That work tells us that the remaining fiber supply is limited and must be managed carefully if we want healthy forests and a reliable forest economy into the future. We believe the province has an opportunity and a responsibility to respect current forest conditions, local knowledge, and collaborative decision-making. The information exists, the expertise exists, and also the partnerships exists. Today, Saik'uz First Nation and the District of Vanderhoof are standing together because we share a common goal: healthy forests, strong local communities, and a sustainable forest sector that truly benefits the people who live here. We look forward to working with local partners, industry, and the province to make that vision a reality. Thank you.
Chief Mueller. We'll now move on to Mayor Kevin Moutre.
Thank you, Chief Mueller, and thank you everyone for being here today. It's an honor to be here in Saik'uz, and it's such a privilege to call Saik'uz territory our home. The District of Vanderhoof is proud to stand beside Saik'uz First Nation on this important issue. We believe the future of forestry in this region depends on local leadership and local solutions. Forestry has shaped our community for decades. It supports our families, our businesses, and many Indigenous and non-Indigenous workers throughout the region. Our councils are here because we want forestry sector to succeed, not just today, but for generations from now. The greatest threat to forestry jobs is not sustainable management. The greatest threat is exhausting the remaining healthy fiber supply without a long-term plan. The people who live and work here see the conditions of these forests. We see the impact every day. Harvesting must reflect current conditions, cumulative impacts, and all values on the land base. Local governments, First Nations, forestry professionals, and workers all have valuable knowledge that must be part of the decision-making. This is about protecting both our forests and our economy. There's still fiber available to support local mills and local jobs, but it must be managed responsibly. The remaining fiber should create the greatest possible benefit for the communities where it is harvested. Today's announcement is about charting a better path forward, one built on collaboration, sound science, local knowledge, and respect for the stewardship responsibilities that we all share. Together, the District of Vanderhoof and Saik'uz First Nation are committed to developing practical solutions that protect our forests, strengthen our regional economy, and ensure future generations inherit healthy landscapes and thriving communities.
Thanks so much, Mayor Moutre. I just want to make sure that the folks online have an opportunity to ask questions. If you're able to, simply raise your hand using the online raise hand function. And then Angela, who is here working the computer, will open your mic. And then you can ask the question directly to the panel. We'll be having all the representatives who are here available to answer questions. If you got a question specifically for an individual, please say their name first. I am going to do a little bit of mic juggling right now. This is a funny little system, so give me 1 second. Let's see where this ends up. Yeah, just so you got a little more.
There you go.
Something like that. Okay. Any questions from
He
you?
might say you are seeing the phone. All look like it.
Great.
All right, if there are, while the folks online are maybe gathering themselves, I'll ask, we've got some folks in the room here who are prepared to ask a question. You want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Jasmine Thomas, I am Saik'uz and Stewardship and Reconciliation Lead here with Saik'uz. I just want to commend you all for your willingness to work together and to see the value that we have collectively in the future of our forests. And a question I have would be, how has the impact from, say, major licensees like Canfor departing from the region impacted your communities? To some of those impacts.
Someone who'd like to start?
I could start. Priscilla here. You know, when the West Fraser and Canfor mills shut down and moved on, we have an agreement with a local mill here down in Vanderhoof, and we are struggling to find the fiber to keep that mill open. The mill used to run 2 shifts per day and went down to a 1 shift per day, and then to 3 days a week for almost a year. And we had a lot of our members that were laid off that were working there, and I'm sure Vanderhoof had many members, citizens that were laid off. So the impact to those families was very big. And what we're looking at is we want that fiber to stay in our area. If the mills shut down, we don't want the wood leaving this community, because we have enough sustainable forest that we could actually keep 1 mill open, and we could keep it open at least a 2 shift, but that's not going to happen because it takes 450,000 cubic meters just to keep 1 mill open. And instead of that fiber leaving our community, our communities, we want that fiber to stay in our community.
Absolutely. And if I can just jump in there, I echo everything Chief Mueller said. And just want to say, when a major leaves the community, they really leave their social license behind. That tenure was there to support a local mill with local jobs. When they leave, that fiber should not be rolling down the road to another community. That should be staying here and keeping the mill that we have left open. We can right-size the forest industry and make this forest district work, but it needs to keep that fiber local.
Any other comments on that question? We've got a question from Zoe Yonker from the Tyee. Can you clarify some policy and or regulatory changes that you're calling for to support the vision you're putting forward here? Policy or regulatory changes that you're calling for to support the vision that you've got here?
Brian Frankel, Councillor. That's a great question. I tend to look at it in a way that there are several things that the 2 communities can work on together. We have gone down the road of looking at a timber first policy, which we all grew up on, was a timber first policy, to all values are equal on the land base. And I think that's the important thing on this framework, is that we're looking at all values. As a person that was in the industry, it was always timber first and a lot of other things second. And I'm excited that we've moved forward to looking at all values. So good question. the legislative changes and all of those. That's why we're forming this agreement, so that we can work on changes that look at all values. And the current government is looking at pilot projects where there are forest landscape pilots out there, but we're advancing that a little bit quicker by adopting the local land use framework that the nations have worked on.
Anyone from Saik'uz? Oh, Kevin, go ahead.
And maybe just to clarify there, too, the district of Vanderhoof within its community forest is implementing or is starting to implement the Saik'uz framework. So that's a local step that we're taking in the right direction, and just would like to see that pushed out further. Right?
I'd love to hear more about that. Anyone from Saik'uz have any comments about, first of all, the regulatory changes, and second, sir, about how the Saik'uz land use plan is?
Say it again.
How is the Saik'uz land use plan being implemented in the Vanderhoof activity forest? Or what were the steps maybe that led to that?
Well, since for Saik'uz, since 2017, we've been really looking at the state of our forests and have done a lot of work in the last couple of years, probably 5 years, and looking at risk ranking data and having expertise, forestry workers, our technical team, looking at how are we going to sustain our forest for the next 20, 30, 40 years? We can't continue to harvest like it's 20 years ago during the pine beetle days. What we want to do is we think about what's going to happen to our, we're building or planting, a whole bunch of pine. We're not looking at other fiber and other different kinds of wood to, for whatever the animals out there need. I'm kind of rambling on, but but anyway, Saik'uz has done a lot of work, and for Vanderhoof, for the district to actually implement that land use framework in their community forest is a big step towards collaboration, and then the partnership, and I'm hoping other communities do the same thing and start adopting some of our policies and some of our framework to look at stewardship and how do we restore the forests.
Go ahead, Regina.
Councillor Carlson, I just want to thank Mayor Moutre on mentioning the biodiversity risk ranking model that's being developed to assess our land use decisions. And we're also, I wanted to just touch on what Chief Mueller was, we're actively working, towards advancing a resource management plan collaboratively with BC and other carrier or other neighboring carrier Sicanni First Nations. I just wanted to put in mention too, my grandmother always spoke, if we always took care of Mother Earth, she will take care of us. And if we destroy Mother Earth, we will destroy ourselves. So that's the thought that we're leading when we move forward in managing our forest.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson.
Brian Frankel. I want to add to the point that not only you're seeing two communities come together here, but there is a partner in Vanderhoof and the Chaco Sinclair group that is adopting this framework as well. And so when you have industry looking at this and communities looking at this, and the teams behind the scenes educating our community and industry on going forward with a different approach, it's an interesting way to move forward. And so I think that that's one of the main things that we all need to understand. It's education for a lot of us, because we were brought up in a different way of doing things. And so when you have industry and community, we're learning as we go. So there's no direct, this is the path, because we're trying to come along and learn as we go. So.
I'd just like to touch on that as well. seeing us collaborate like this and move forward is not only groundbreaking, but it's huge. The goal is simple: manage the remaining fiber supply in a way that supports forest health and long-term economic stability. Responsible management protects forests, wildlife, watersheds, and local economies, as well as our community.
We just throw in one more example of how we're moving forward differently together, and that's we've been doing some trial commercial harvesting, or commercial thinning blocks or incremental harvesting, whichever way you want to look at it. And after doing those, taking field trips out into the community forest and look at that, where we have counselors, elders, guardians, and industry, all looking at those same blocks and looking, what are the values you see? What are the values you see? And working on how we can work together to make that a sustainable path forward.
Fantastic. I'm just going to ask a slightly kind of revised version of that question, because we've got Matthew Miller from the Citizen that asked just before we had this conversation. Are there any other plans for collaboration between the district and Saik'uz First Nation in the near future? How does this, I like the example of the community forest implementing Saik'uz land use planning and the risk ranking system. Are there any other examples that you can see in the near future being rolled out?
We've had one on fire and training and all those other things.
I would say that we're actively working on multiple points of collaboration right now, maybe not ready to put it publicly out here, but there are other ways that we're looking. How can the two communities work together and really work to help each other moving forward?
And I'll just say that we have signed an MOU with the District of Vanderhoof to, kind of look at ways to partner on different activities that's going on in community or infrastructure that's happening. So we are really working towards trying to, build our relationship.
Out of that MOU, and so nothing in the future yet, but that'll be, as the Chief Mueller and Mayor Moutre have said, they'll be working on those things. But things that have been accomplished already as part of that MRU are a busing system from between our two communities. We're working on other things like our firefighter team helping train firefighter team out here. And there's still more to be done, but there's things that have been done in the last couple of years. But the things in the future will come shortly. But we've been constantly doing that for the last few years.
Tom Bulmer, District of Vanderhoof, and I think a collaboration between these two communities working together as a whole can move things forward when we go to approach other governments, other communities, other organizations and businesses. If we're a cohesive group with the two communities, I think it'll put us in a much better, much stronger position to move all kinds of ideas forward.
We've got another question from Brendan Pavliv from Vista Radio. Do you see a scenario where the district and area First Nations establish a new mill to boost jobs, or does the current economic climate not allow for that right now?
So I would go, building new mills isn't really in the economic climate now. What we really need to focus on is we have one strong surviving mill standing. We need to make sure that we shore up their supply of fiber and keep them moving. In reality, manufacturing is just going to head towards larger centers unless we can keep those small town operations surviving.
Yeah, I would agree also, Priscilla here, that, yeah, I totally agree. Keep this one mill going. Let's bring it back to where it was before. We only have about 137,000 cubic meters of sustainable wood that we could harvest. We have a big licensee that's taking about 600,000 cubic meters out of our area. So we want that fiber kept here. And to build a new mill, I think those days are over, but we do have one mill here that we could keep going, and we could keep the families working.
Any other comments on? I want to get into a couple of more fundamental questions here. Because for folks who aren't from the region or maybe from central British Columbia, and don't know what has caused these challenges, what are the forestry challenges that have left the region with, I think Kevin said, you know, I guess a hunger for the last remaining wood that's here, rather than a sustainable cut. I know that mountain pine beetle was mentioned. I just love if folks could elaborate on over the last 25 years, what kinds of challenges you've seen here that lead you now to this collaborative approach and the move towards a more wide variety of values being considered.
First and foremost, I think it's climate change. And climate change has led us to where we are today. That a changing climate led to the impact of the infestation of the pine beetle. Government of the day, had said that, we need to liquidate the asset before it deteriorates. And as communities and folks, we decided that was probably the best way to go. And so at the same time, the District of Vanderhoof was involved in a national adaptation to climate change document. It predicted everything that has happened. But that document sat on a shelf and no one paid attention to it outside of our communities. It predicted the first round of fires. It predicted the loss of land base that you see now. I think a third of our land base since 2000 has now been burnt. It predicted that. It predicted that we're going to 5.1 degrees Celsius. We've already overachieved on the 2.1, and that's what's causing the fires. And so how do we as communities start to look at, and this is what the chief and the mayor are talking about, is that how do we look at those things that are going on that we already know are going on in our backyard that we can influence and not coming out of a box in Victoria or some other center. This is our backyard. This is Saik'uz backyard. And so I think that that's some of the stuff that has caused that. And so people will say, and I'm not trying to, people will say that, oh, your forests are devastated. And they are. They're gone for the most part. But I try to tell people that we're in an enviable position because we are in a do-over position. So now we can look at all values from the core up, and instead of just timber. So we can look at everything from all values and say, what needs to be on the land base? Is timber one of those things? Great. Wildlife, water, fisheries, all of those things that are important to all can now be looked at without the timber being number one. So that was a bit of a long answer.
Melanie Labatch, counselor. I'm also I do agree, like climate change definitely, and maybe not listening to those. It's also the way that forestry was practiced. People were very good at taking down forests, not so good at building it up. So it's those practices that we're reaping. And so now we say, before, if it was the timber model, just looking at taking that, but the value of the land, which we've always had those eyes. So now that our voices can be heard more, I think about, we talked about the pine beetle. And if I've talked to people from Europe who are like, this is all over the papers, but we stifled it here. The elders had said when that first started in Tweedsmuir, burn it. You have to burn it. That knowledge wasn't heeded. And we had probably the worst epidemic to trees in North America that they have ever seen. So there is knowledge there. We lose elders, like so much of our elders are leaving, right? So I'm very hopeful that we're looking at seeing more value. And one thing, like I like the risk ranking model, and I wish that we could show some pictures, but like you look at a traditional clear cut, and then maybe they'll plant trees, they're all the same. So if something comes in, what's going to happen? all those same trees are gonna go. But when you look at the diversity, this, looking at some of the blocks that they're using the risk ranking, they're leaving trees, they're leaving certain vegetation, right? So that, and animals can flourish there. They're not gonna be picked off because they're in a big field, right? So looking, and even like Regina had mentioned, like her grandma, like we get medicines from the land. So it's looking at all of that value because it does sustain us and we need to be supporting local. We look at worldwide, people want to be shopping online, they want to be doing all that. We need to be supporting everybody around here. So it's important to have those collective times together.
Another question from Zoe Yunker. Is the harvest of second growth forests in the territory possible right now? And what could help make second growth logging or thinning possible? I know you mentioned that you were already experimenting in the community forest. Is there enough inventory outside of the community forest to thin? And is there anything that needs to be done?
Incremental harvesting or commercial thinning is something we should be looking at. It's not enough to support the industry. So there's still need for primary forests to be harvested. But we need to be doing those trials and look at what do we want that commercial thin to look like. And so we can go out there. So it's not just a grab of our future trees. We're actually improving the stands. They're going to be a better product in the end. So there's a lot of work to do on the ground. It's not the solution for everything, but it is a part of the solution. Our local mill here in the Chaco Lumber was set up for small pines. So it actually is the ideal location to send these smaller trees into. So I think we have a good opportunity to use a lot of it, but it won't be the solution for everything.
Yeah, I would just say, Rez, that as far as I know, they're like the second growth is there's none. And yeah, I don't think we'll be fully logging in a sustainable way for another like 50 to 70 years, maybe. As far as I know.
You're right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I to touch on what both Chief and Mayor have said, I think getting out of the quantity over quality, wood is the biggest thing. The greatest threat to forestry jobs is not sustainable management. It's running out of a healthy forest. And that's what we're up against, and that's what we're moving forward with.
Got another question from the floor here. The comment is, not all volume is created equal. Because of mountain pine beetle and other things, old forests around here have a lot of blowdown and dead standing. However, that kind of volume is not harvestable with market conditions as they are. What's the solution? Does Saik'uz in the district of Vanderhoof, do you have a potential solution for approaching those forests in order to improve the health of those forests after this mountain pine beetle and after the other causes of blowdown and dead pine?
I would say, like we've said it, I don't know how many times this morning, about value on the land, like looking at what's on the land, like what could we use? I think about maybe like a cogen plant or some kind of can we take that blow down, right? Could we take the burnt wood and make something out of it? And but we're looking at that, and our technical teams are looking at that, but we haven't come up with any kind of plan moving forward to together as a partner or yeah, so I don't really have an answer to that, but I think looking at the value on the land is like really important. And yeah.
Yeah, just to add to Chief Mueller's comments, if I could, I think she's bang on. There's value in blowdown. We just haven't determined that yet as a group and the framework. And so that value may be timber, but it may be biodiversity and animals and other things as well. So to me, wearing my old timber hat yes, I would have wanted to go get it. But that's not what this agreement is about yet. This is about looking at values of that. And so is it marten habitat? Is it all of those other things? And that's what we're learning together as we go through this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, Councillor Carlson here, you know, the medicines, these trees here on the side of us are trembling aspen or maybe referred to as poplar, you know, that's medicine to me. You know, if you're in the forest and you get cutting down trees, you know, you would take the bark off of that and chew it and put it and it'll stop the bleeding. So that's medicine, that's traditional knowledge, you know, that are being put into these land use plans. I just wanted to back up a little bit, you know, to how Saik'uz and Vanderhoof have been, you know, actively engaging in strengthening our relationships. You know, somebody posted on the floor and I was just thinking about it, but strengthening our relationships amongst our councils here, you know, from community safety to emergency response efforts, you know, through the communications and the protocol and the MOU that was referenced and now advancing towards greater collaboration on how land use decisions are being made in our territory. That is going to support both of our communities. And, you know, our council, I am hopeful that, you know, our relationship will bring greater economic security, but also greater respect and for a region that is shifting in its relationship with our forestry sector. And then being closest to the super mills in the region that have supported this province's economy has resulted in over harvesting practices. You know, our forests are not what they were 20 years ago. And mismanagement. Let's just be real here on the province's part where benefits have left our region. I remember our logs going down the road to who knows where when I was a little girl, and it's still happening to this day. And one of the biggest impacts to our landscape and our economy have, occurred when we have major licensees who have disregarded best management practices based on or have not engaged with our communities, surrounding communities in the Nechako in any meaningful capacity. And I'll be bold and I'll say the Crown has disregarded our Aboriginal rights and title for many years in the realm of forestry, but now is the time to do things right, where we're leading and implementing, precedent-setting land use planning models to make better decisions. You know, we spoke about our traditional knowledge, our land monitors here in the room, and in the community. We have Jasmine, we have our team here that helped supported this model and worked on the ground to see where our forestry is at. I'd like to say too that Saik'uz, we're asserting our stewardship responsibility and have the support, of the District of Vanderhoof here to ensure that we have an economy that continues to sustain our region here through the local mill that we speak of.
Yeah, I've got one last question from the folks online. Oh, go ahead, Marilyn.
People were hunters and gatherers. We depended on the forest for our survival. We hunted in those forests for our moose hide here, an example, and even the frame. That was not the frame that they made this. They used the different, and now that's all gone. That's why they refer to using that. And also they gathered medicine. Our areas for gathering medicine is all devastated. You have to go further and further to find the medicine for the traditional healers need that medicine to help people. Our community always had special people in the community. there was always one that was, they called Keo Wadachan. That means he was the pillar of the community. And it was usually a traditional chief. And that traditional chief taught his people about the culture, how to look after the land, how to sustain it, and how to not respect the land. Respect the land because in the future, it was for our children, our grandchildren. Today, you want to take our grandchildren out in the forest, it's all clear cut. And it also, what are we going to teach them? All the plants are gone. All the trees are gone, the different types. And that was part of the practice, was teaching our children how to live. And also that in the future, they always said that, they taught us that in the future that there's going to be, the forest is going to be devastated. Like when the pine beetle came, it was a natural occurrence. It was to replenish that forest. That happened, and even that, they made profit out of that. And to me, it's not respect. It's not for the land. It's for profit. That was never, in our culture, was never used the forest for that. It was to help our people survive and to teach our children in the future. And when you see today, if you took a helicopter ride, you'll see how the forest is all cut down and it affects everything. The winds get stronger because there's no trees to protect. And if there's a fire, you know that the fire moves quicker on land. And it's just totally devastating. And for the forest to have regrowth, it takes years and years. And maybe our great grandchildren will see those forests again. But our children of today, they're not learning out in their culture, out on the land and out on the waters. I just want to remind that the respect has to go both ways. The government has to respect our traditional practice and our culture, and we have to collaborate with them, not be excluded in partnerships or excluded in decision making. That's really important. And today we're working with Vanderhoof, collaborating, working with them so that in the future there's something there for our children. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Marilyn. I mentioned there's one more question from online. Ian Gregg, Seaford Radio. It looks like your communities are putting in practice business models that do not rely on infinite growth and prioritize sustainable practices. But do you think that will be compatible with the greater forestry economy in the province moving forward? Yeah.
That's a good question. Personally, I think our communities are more worried about the economy around it and them. So the provincial economy and the forest economy is not what this is about today. This is about our community in the area that surrounds our communities. So I would say that we're going to focus on keeping us in a sustainable fashion through this framework. And what happens with the rest of the province, they'll have to figure that out. But this is what we're trying to do as two communities right now.
And I can to add to that, our land use plan is a result of years of technical analysis, traditional knowledge, and local expertise and collaboration. There's still fiber available to support local mills. It must be managed carefully and responsible, sorry.
Any other final comments?
I'll just, in the batch here. Also just, and maybe just the way that end of that question made me think that, we have Indigenous rights. There's Indigenous peoples on these lands. So we've had the Supreme Court of Canada remind, we have, so we're not going anywhere. And I think that it's business camp isn't going to be done the way it always was before. We have voices, we have knowledge, and we're here. And I do think that when we work together, we're greater. So allow this to be a ripple effect. Allow this, seeing how we can be collaborative and connect. You know what? We're not always going to agree on things, but we're going to make the commitment to sit here and work together. And how can we look ahead so our great-great-grandchildren have something collectively? So
I move the mic for you.
Oh, I didn't want the final. Just Ken Young, just after hearing from Elder Antoine here and others, I think, and we also heard the word opportunity, and thinking about the opportunities that are out there, and the opportunities now the government has to work with communities such as ourselves here, as we've come together, and our relationship is continuing to evolve in a very positive manner. And somebody asked earlier, are there other plans? Of course there are. We're just not there to share it yet. But I think going forward, there's a real opportunity for our provincial government to work with communities such as Saik'uz and Vanderhoof and say, we can do things to make sure that these communities stay resilient, they stay vital, and they continue to grow. We can rebuild these forests. It's going to take a long, long time, and we have to do things different. And it can't fit in that same box that we did before, as everybody in that end of the room has already stated. There are opportunities for the government to step forward at this time, and they have to stop looking at the resources in this area as being something that is portable and that can be moved whenever industry decides to leave and give up their social impact positivity for so many years and just pull that out. We have to find ways to ensure that the government hears us, sees these positive moves that we've been making, and can actually come to the table with us. And that's not so much a negative thing in terms of what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a challenge that you can help us do better here by coming on side with us. And I think there is some movement in that direction, and I truly hope so. Thanks.
I'll have a final comment. No, I'm just kidding.
We've got a couple more.
Okay, I just wanted, we support local forestry and the forestry workers, and we're not saying no to forestry. We are saying yes to responsible forestry. The greatest threat to the forestry jobs is not sustainable management. It's running out of our healthy forests. The remaining fiber supply should support the local jobs, local manufacturers, and long-term economic stability wherever possible, and that's important here for both our councils, is keeping, that supply here in our community.
Kevin Moutre, Mayor of Vanderhoof, just would say that, the fiber just isn't there. So business as usual isn't an option because that would just deplete it, and then we have nothing. Now is the time for big moves. The majors have done us no favors. They've moved on. They've gone elsewhere. We need a big move that can take that volume away from the majors and redistribute it so that the local mills can make a living, the local people can make a living, and we can move forward in a sustainable manner.
Thank you. Priscilla here.
Thank you for that, Mike.
What I'd like to say is our communities need to play a greater role. The province need to look at us as a government, and when we sit at the table, that we're equal partners at the table. And Saik'uz right now has a, I think about a death by 1,000 cuts. Do we want to go down that road? No, we don't. But we have a pretty good case to move forward with that. And so we need the province to treat us as equals and treat us as partners, and that our communities have a voice. Thank you.
One for spending the time with our journalists online. I want to thank the mayor and council, the district of Vanderhoof, the chief and council at Saik'uz First Nation. We'll close the webinar here. Thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you.